but they are bound to have their playground, for they are children, you know, and cannot be so staid as old folks. Boys will be boys. Only for this playground, only for a few hours of jolly running about, they bargain. They ask only that the state should not, like a splenetic papa, be too cross. It should permit some processions of the ass and plays of fools, as the church allowed them in the Middle Ages. But the times, when it could grant this without danger are past. Children that now once come into the open, and live through an hour without the rod of discipline, are no longer willing to go into the cell. For the open is now no longer a supplement to the cell, no longer a refreshing recreation, but its opposite, an autot. In short, the state must either no longer put up with anything, or put up with everything and perish. It must be either sensitive through and through, or, like a dead man, insensitive. Tolerance is done with. If the state but gives a finger, they take the whole hand at once. There can be no more jesting, and all jest, such as fun, wit, humor, becomes bitter earnest. The clamor of the liberals for freedom of the press runs counter to their own principle, their proper will. They will what they do not will, they wish, they would like. Hence it is too that they fall away so easily when once so-called freedom of the press appears, then they would like censorship. Quite naturally. The state is sacred even to them, likewise morals. They behave toward it only as ill-bred brats, as tricky children who seek to utilize the weaknesses of their parents. Papa's state is to permit them to say many things that do not please him, but Papa has the right, by a stern look, to blue-pencil their impertinent gabble. If they recognize in him their Papa, they must in his presence put up with the censorship of speech, like every child. If you let yourself be made out in the right by another, you must no less let yourself be made out in the wrong by him. If justification and reward come to you from him, expect also his arraignment and punishment. Alongside right goes wrong, alongside legality crime. What are you? You are a criminal. The criminal is in the utmost degree the state's own crime, says Bedina. One may let this sentiment pass, even if Bedina herself does not understand it exactly so. For in the state the unbridled I, as I belong to myself alone, cannot come to my fulfillment and realization. Every ego is from birth a criminal to begin with against the people, the state. Hence it is that it does really keep watch over all, it sees in each one an egoist, and it is afraid of the egoist. It presumes the worst about each one, and takes care, police care, that no harm happens to the state, nequid res publica detrimenti capiat. The unbridled ego, and this we originally are, and in our secret inward parts we remain so always, is the never-ceasing criminal in the state. The man whom his boldness, his will, his inconsiderateness and fearlessness lead is surrounded with spies by the state, by the people. I say, by the people. The people think it's something wonderful, you good-hearted folks, what you have in the people is full of police sentiments through and through. Only he who renounces his ego, who practices self-renunciation, is acceptable to the people. In the book cited Bedina is throughout good-natured enough to regard the state as only sick, and to hope for its recovery, a recovery which she would bring about through the demagogues, but it is not sick, rather is it in its full strength, when it puts from it the demagogues who want to acquire something for the individuals, for all. In its believers it is provided with the best demagogues, leaders of the people. According to Bedina, the state is to develop mankind's germ of freedom, otherwise it is a raven the uncaring for raven fodder. It cannot do otherwise, for in its very caring for mankind, which, besides, would have to be the humane or free state to begin with, the individual is raven fodder for it. How rightly speaks the burgomaster, in the other hand. What? The state has no other duty than to be merely the attendant of incurable invalids. That isn't to the point. From of old the health state has relieved itself of the diseased matter, and not mixed itself with it. It does not need to be so economical with its juices. Cut off the robber branches without hesitation, that the others may bloom. Do not shiver at the state's harshness, its morality, its policy and religion, pointed to that. Accuse it of no want of feeling, its sympathy revolts against this, but its experience finds safety only in its severity. There are diseases in which only drastic remedies will help. The physician who recognizes the disease as such, but timidly turns to palliatives, will never remove the disease, but may well cause the patient to succumb after a shorter or longer sickness. Frau Rath's question, if you apply death as a drastic remedy, how is the cure to be wrought then, isn't to the point. Why, the state does not apply death against itself, but against an offensive member. It tears out an eye that offends it, etc. For the invalid state, the only way of salvation is to make man flourish in it. If one here, like Bedina, understand by man the concept man, she is right, the invalid state will recover by the flourishing of man, for, the more infatuated the individuals are with man, the better it serves the state's turn. But, if one referred it to the individuals, to all, and the authoress half does this too, because about man she is still involved in vagueness, then it would sound somewhat like the following. For an invalid band of robbers the only way of salvation is to make the loyal citizen nourish in it. Why, thereby the band of robbers would simply go to ruin, as a band of robbers, and, because it perceives this, it prefers to shoot everyone who has a leaning toward becoming a steady man. In this book Bedina is a patriot, or, what is little more, a philanthropist, a worker for human happiness. She is discontented with the existing order in quite the same way, as is the title ghost of her book, along with all who would like to bring back the good old faith and what goes with it. Only she thinks, contrariwise, that the politicians, placeholders, and diplomats ruined the state, while those lay it at the door of the malevolent, the seducers of the people. What is the ordinary criminal but one who has committed the fatal mistake of endeavoring after what is the people's instead of seeking for what is his? He has sought despicable alien goods, has done what believers do who seek after what is God's. What does the priest who admonishes the criminal do? He sets before him the great wrong of having desecrated by his act what was hallowed by the state, its property, in which, of course, must be included even the life of those who belong to the state. Instead of this, he might rather hold up to him the fact that he has befouled himself in not despising the alien thing, but thinking it worth stealing. He could, if he were not a person, talk with the so-called criminal as with an egoist, and he will be ashamed, not that he transgressed against your laws and goods, but that he considered your laws worth evading, your goods worth desiring. He will be ashamed that he did not despise you and yours together, that he was too little an egoist. But you cannot talk egoistically with him, for you are not so great as a criminal, you commit no crime. You do not know that an ego who is his own cannot desist from being a criminal, that crime is his life. And yet you should know it, since you believe that we are all miserable sinners, but you think surreptitiously to get beyond sin. You do not comprehend, for you are devil-fearing, that guilt is the value of a man. Oh, if you were guilty. But now you are righteous. Well, just put everything nicely to rights for your master. When the Christian consciousness, or the Christian man, draws up a criminal code, what can the concept of crime be there but simply heartlessness? Each severing and wounding of a heart relation, each heartless behavior toward a sacred being, is crime. The more heartfelt the relation is supposed to be, the more scandalous is the deriding of it, and the more worthy of punishment the crime. Everyone who is subject to the Lord should love him. To deny this love is a high treason worthy of death. Adultery is a heartlessness worthy of punishment. One has no heart, no enthusiasm, no pathetic feeling for the sacredness of marriage. So long as the heart or soul dictates laws, only the heartful or soulful man enjoys the protection of the laws. That the man of soul makes laws means properly that the moral man makes them. What contradicts these men's moral feeling, this they penalize. How should disloyalty, secession, breach of oaths, in short, all radical breaking off, all tearing asunder of venerable ties, not be flagitious and criminal in their eyes? He who breaks with these demands of the soul has for enemies all the moral, all the men of soul. Only Crometer and his mates are the right people to set up consistently a penal code of the heart, as a certain bill sufficiently proves. The consistent legislation of the Christian state must be placed wholly in the hands of the persons, and will not become pure and coherent so long as it is worked out only by the person-ridden, who are always only half-persons. Only then will every lack of soulfulness, every heartlessness, be certified as an unpardonable crime. Only then will every agitation of the soul become condemnable, every objection of criticism and doubt be anathematized. Only then is the own man, before the Christian consciousness, a convicted criminal to begin with. The men of the Revolution often talked of the people's just revenge as its right. Revenge and right coincide here. Is this an attitude of an ego to an ego? The people cries that the opposite party has committed crimes against it. Can I assume that one commits a crime against me, without assuming that he has to act as I see fit? And this action I call the right, the good, etc., the divergent action, a crime. So I think that the others must aim at the same goal with me. I do not treat them as unique beings who bear their law in themselves and live according to it, but as beings who are to obey some rational law. I set up what man is and what acting in a truly human way is, and I demand of everyone that this law become norm and ideal to him, otherwise he will expose himself as a sinner and criminal. But upon the guilty falls the penalty of the law. One sees here how he is man again who sets on foot even the concept of crime, of sin, and therewith that of right. A man in whom I do not recognize man is sinner, a guilty one. Only against a sacred thing are there criminals. You against me can never be a criminal, but only an opponent. But not to hate him who injures a sacred thing is in itself a crime, as Saint Just cries out against Danton. Are you not a criminal and responsible for not having hated the enemies of the fatherland? If, as in the Revolution, what man is apprehended as good citizen, then from this concept of man we have the well-known political offenses and crimes. In all this the individual man, is regarded as refuse, and in the other hand the general man, is honored. Now, according to how this ghost is named, as Christian, Jew, Mussulman, good citizen, loyal subject, freeman, patriot, etc., just so do those who would like to carry through a divergent concept of man, as well as those who want to put themselves through, fall before victorious man. And with what unction the butchery goes on here in the name of the law, of the sovereign people, of God, etc. Now, if the persecuted trickily conceal and protect themselves from the stern parsonical judges, people stigmatize them, as Saint Just does those whom he accuses in the speech against Danton. One is to be a fool, and deliver himself up to their Moloch. Crimes spring from fixed ideas. The sacredness of marriage is a fixed idea. From the sacredness it follows that infidelity is a crime, and therefore a certain marriage law imposes upon it a shorter or longer penalty. But by those who proclaim freedom as sacred this penalty must be regarded as a crime against freedom, and only in this sense has public opinion in fact branded the marriage law. Society would have everyone come to his right indeed, but yet only to that which is sanctioned by society, to the society right, not really to his right. But I give or take to myself the right out of my own plenitude of power, and against every superior power I am the most impenitent criminal. Owner and creator of my right, I recognize no other source of right than me, neither God nor the state nor nature nor even man himself which has eternal rights of man, neither divine nor human right. Right in and for itself. Without relation to me, therefore. Absolute right. Separated from me, therefore. A thing that exists in and for itself. An absolute. An eternal right, like an eternal truth. According to the liberal way of thinking, right is to be obligatory for me, because it is thus established by human reason, against which my reason is unreason. Formerly people invade in the name of divine reason against weak human reason, now, in the name of strong human reason, against egoistic reason, which is rejected, as unreason. And yet none is real but this very unreason. Neither divine nor human reason, but only your and my reason existing at any given time, is real, and because you and I are real,